The Pyrogale Gauntlets for the Titan turn your Burning Maw into a one-hit super that can potentially do even more damage than Thunder Crash with Curious of the Falling Star. So I'm going to give you a build for these gauntlets and also show you another option with the Syntheseps that is pretty much going to allow you to do even more super damage on top of having really good melee damage and survivability. First up, let's really just dive into the perk of this exotic. So, Percussive Flames modifies Burning Maw into a single high damage slam of your hammer that creates 5 Cyclones of Flame. Also, Consecration's second slam creates a Cyclone of Flame. Now, if you don't know what Consecration is, essentially if you have your charged melee and you slide, you hit your melee button, you do an uppercut, and then if you do it again while you're in midair, you do a slam. So with that, you can create another Cyclone, but we're not going to be using this aspect for this build in particular because the other two are just way too good to pass up for this. Before I dive too far into the build, I do want to show you why I am using Syntheseps for the main portion of the build because, again, Synthos with Bonk Hammer, very classic. You can do a lot of damage with the hammer, but the thing with Pyrogale is that it's only good for the super. So how do people actually, set this up if I'm going to be using Syntheseps the whole time? So once I have my super and I want to use it, what I do is I actually switch to Pyrogale, pop the super, make sure the animation's done, and then I switch back to Syntheseps. What that does is have biotic enhancements kick in, so now the super can do even more damage if there are more targets around you. So it pretty much doubles the super damage of what Pyrogale could do by itself. It's an absolutely disgusting exploit. I'm not sure if Bungie's gonna, fix it or however this is gonna work. But again, just make sure you have the gauntlets on first, pop the super, wait a sec, put Syntheseps back on, and then do the slam. Other than the seasonal artifact, there really isn't anything here that is really going to help out this build a lot. Again, the Siphon mods we don't really need. We're really not going to take advantage of any of the elemental orbs or tangles, anything like that. In the last column, I would recommend Monochromatic Maestro. So dealing elemental ability damage increases matching weapon damage, and elemental weapon damage increases matching ability damage. The bonus granted is 10% for 5 seconds. So if we're doing, solar ability damage, that means our weapons, solar weapons, are going to get bonus damage and vice versa. So I figured this was just going to help us out anyway. Under the Sunbreaker subclass, this is what you're going to need. For the super, obviously we want Burning Maw because again, that is what's going to work with the exotic. For our other abilities, I'm just rocking Towering Barricade, but you can do Rally if you'd like. I like Strafe Lift, but again, use what you like. For the melee though, we want the Throwing Hammer, the Bonk. Again, we're going to pair this with a Syntheseps, which I'll show you about here in a little bit. And lastly, for the grenade, I personally like the Thermite Grenade, but you can use what you'd like. If it's a tougher, situation, tougher activity, you can use the Healing Grenade, but I personally like the Thermite Grenade. Under our aspects, first up, we're going with Roaring Flames. Final blows with solar abilities or ignitions increase the damage of your solar abilities that can stack up to 3 times. So as long as we get kills with our, Bonk Hammer with the grenade, they get to do even more damage. And the second one we're going to use is Soul Invictus. Solar ability final blows, hammer soul impacts, and defeating scorched targets creates sunspots. Your abilities regenerate faster and your super drains more slowly while you're standing in a sunspot, and sunspots apply scorch and deal damage to targets inside. Entering a sunspot applies restoration. This is going to be the big survivability mechanic with this build. And then for our fragments here, I'm rocking Ember of Torches. Power melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies radiant. And again, radiant allows you to do more damage and pierce anti-barrier shields. It is a -10 to discipline, but again, it's only powered hits. They don't have to be kills, so that's a bonus with that one. Next, Ember of Empyrean. Very solid one, highly recommended for this. Solar weapon or ability final blows extend the duration of restoration and radiant effects applied to you. It is a -10 to resilience, but this is really good to keep restoration up for a long time. Next up, Ember of Ashes. You apply more scorch stacks to the targets, so pretty much with our grenades and our melee and our super, the more scorch stacks, more ignitions, more ad control. That's essentially what it is. And then lastly, I personally like Ember of Souls, so radiant restoration effects applied to you have an increased duration. This one's just overall good since we are going to have radiant restoration. We might as well have it even longer. Next, let's go over the armor mods that I'm using, and just note for my Syntheseps and the Pyrogale Gauntlets here, I have the exact same mods on, so keep that in mind. First up, starting with the helmet, I am rocking double hands-on. Again, I'm going to gain bonus super energy on melee kills, so whenever we get kills with that Bonk Hammer, I get even more super energy. Then I'm also using Harmonic Siphon, which transfers into Solar Siphon, so rapid solar weapon final blows create an orb of power. On our gauntlets here, I am going to be using heavy-handed. Your power melee final blows create orbs of power, and then double impact induction, causing damage with a melee attack, reduces your grenade cooldown. On the chest piece here, I am using melee damage resistance, reduces incoming damage from combatants that are at point blank range, and then I am using void reserves. The reason being is because we are going to be using the Tractor Cannon Exotic, so I want more ammunition for this weapon. On the boots here, I am rocking Solar Weapon Surge. Your solar weapons gain a small bonus to damage while you have any armor charge. Your armor charge now decays over time. Essentially, when you collect orbs of power, you gain armor charges. Minimum, you can have 3, and with these blue mods, it actually puts a timer on them for 10 seconds. So with 3 armor charges, we have 30 seconds of this bonus solar weapon damage. And then for our other 2, I'm going with Innervation. Reduces grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power. If you are having trouble surviving, you can always replace one of these with Recuperation, which again replenishes your health each time you pick up an orb of power. And then last on the class item, I am rocking Double Bomber. Again, that reduces my grenade cooldown when using my class ability. And then lastly, Time Dilation. Your decaying armor charge has a longer duration, so that 10 seconds I mentioned on our Solar Weapon Surge actually gets bumped up to 15 seconds, which means with 3 armor charges, we have 45 seconds of that bonus weapon damage. For stats to focus on, highly recommend Resilience. Again, talk about it every video. Try to have tier 10, 100 Resilience. It's going to give you a 30% damage reduction in PvE, which is going to be fantastic. Now, we really don't need to focus on mobility or recovery. Again, we're going to have restoration a lot, so we don't really need it. Same thing with strength. Again, with the hammer, we can continue getting it back as long as we go pick it up. So the other 2 that are left is Discipline, which is tied to your grenade cooldown, and then lastly, Intellect, which again is tied to how fast we can get that super. For our weapon options, since we are going to be in close quarters, we want to take advantage of the Tractor Cannon and a perk on the shotgun. So not only would Tractor Cannon be able to just like wipe out a room of enemies, just blowing them away, you can also add the debuff on higher tier targets. So that's number 1. Number 2, like I said, with the shotgun, we want to take advantage of a shotgun with 1-2 punch. Hitting an enemy with every pellet in a shot increases melee damage for a short duration. So if we hit a mini boss or a boss with Tractor Cannon and then shoot him with the shotgun, then throw the hammer, if you already have Roaring Flame stacked and you're using Syntheseps and there's a lot of targets nearby, you can drop bosses very easily with this setup. It's absolutely disgusting. And then for my energy, I'm just using Callus Mini Tool. It is craftable now that you can farm Presage and all that great jazz, but any weapon with Incandescent will work here. So if you got through all that and you're still a little confused about how this build works, let me just break it down for you. All you need to do is throw the bonk hammer and you're gonna survive and do great damage. It's disgusting. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm mainly rocking Syntheseps up until I'm ready to use my super, then I switch to the gauntlets, right? If you don't want to have to do this and you want to rock the gauntlets the whole time, that is totally okay. That is not a problem at all. You're still gonna have good survivability. You won't have as much melee damage, but again, you want to worry about switching exotics and getting all that stuff right. So again, first up with the throwing hammer, with our thermite grenade, with our super, anything like that, which we want to save it. In any event, Roaring Flames is going to kick in, so whenever we get kills with our solar abilities, ignitions, that damage now stacks, so those do even more damage. Every time we get kills with those abilities, it creates a sunspot, which gives us restoration. Oh, anytime we hit a target with our with the throwing hammer, Ember of Torches kicks in, giving us radiant. And as long as we continue to get solar kills, whether it's from our abilities or our Callus Mini Tool, solar weapon, or whatever, we're pretty much going to have infinite restoration, so healing, and also radiant, which is just free bonus damage on top of being able to stun anti-barrier champions. That's not even like the main part of this whole thing. Ember of Souls makes all that stuff last longer, and with Ember of Ashes, any score stat we do, it has increased stacks, which has more potential to cause ignitions. And with our armor mods, it's honestly just a bonus from there. Like Solar Siphon, we get rapid weapon final blows with our Callus Mini Tool, free overpower, double hands on, as long as we get kills with the throwing hammer, even more super energy. On the gauntlets with impact induction, every time we get hits with the hammer, it gives us our grenade energy, and heavy handed kicks in every time we get a melee kill, which is another free orb of power. On the boots, double innervation. Every time we pick up an orb, it gives us even more grenade energy to use. Plus, Solar Weapon Surge. Again, we're going to be collecting orbs anyway. Might as well have free armor charges for free weapon damage for our Callus Mini Tool. And again, with Time Dilation, those effects last longer. Plus, we have Double Bomber on, so if I need to pop my barricade, I can get that grenade back even faster. Whenever I don't have the super, like I said, I am going to be using Syntheseps, so if I need to take down a high health target, a mini boss or a boss, I have the Tractor Cannon 1-2 punch shotgun combo, so my hammer is going to deal insane amount of damage, and when I need to use that super, I'll switch to the gauntlets, pop the super, and then switch back to Synthos, so now that super can do twice the amount of damage as long as enemies are around. It's disgusting. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is my Pyrogale Gauntlets bonk build. I hope you guys liked it. Like I said, if you don't want to have to switch between Syntheseps and Pyrogale Gauntlets, that's totally fine if you just want to have them on the entire time. But let me know what you guys think. I'm actually going to put the dim link for this build in the description, so if you want to copy everything that I'm using down to the subclass, the armor mods, even the drip, if you like, it'll all be in there, and test out for yourself. Again, if there's something that you like better for this build or something that you find a little more interesting, definitely put that in the comments, because I'm testing stuff out in this game all the time. In any event, if you like what you saw, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then turn the bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on another build video here on the channel. If you didn't know, we live stream on YouTube and on Kick. That link will be in the description. We are mainly going to be playing Destiny 2 here for the next few months for the season, so if you want to hop in for PvE activities, PvP, raids, dungeons, any of that stuff, just hop in the chat. We'll figure something out, and if you want to be proactive, join my Discord. That link will also be in the description. People are looking to play Destiny 2, a couple other games as well, since we have some other games coming out, but we also talk about PC tech, anime, and more. Lastly, if you're looking to support the channel even more, you can look into becoming a member. If you don't know what a membership is essentially like a Twitch subscription. Again, it's going to give you access to the exclusive emotes, the monthly badges, and other cool stuff here on the channel. So if you would like more information, all you have to do is press the join button next to subscribe, and that'll give you a rundown with all the details you need. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy. We'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.